The year has gone by very fast, and with so many things happening that we don't even realize how many things we have done, how many things we did not do, what mistakes have we made, and so on. So I have asked the team to put together actually the very detailed review of everything we have done, so that we can look at the things we haven't done and we have done wrongly, and that we can count that into coming year and years ahead. The 2022 was, well, first and foremost, was a very eventful year. We have grown to 75 or more people at the peak. And as a result, we have done a lot of things. We don't even know how many things we have done. Let me tell you, we have been doing kind of this listing of things we've done for the last week or two. And every one of us is even struggling to remember to list them all, let alone to analyze them and so on. So, and again, this is why I think it's very important to take a little bit of time to reflect and understand what's happening, because it gives us very valuable insights into where to go from here. Most important things we have done this year was to build the blockchains we promised to kind of ourselves, to our community, to our investors, and to anybody who cares. We have built them, we have launched them, and we have built a number of things that make those blockchains accessible by a ever larger number of people. So that was the most important part of work we did this year. If our early work was about testing the waters, understanding if what we are building, what we want to build makes sense, if it's needed, if it's kind of, and what exactly is needed, and so on, then this year we have more focused on actual building. And that's why Greg will start actually the specific reviews. But you know, the sheer volume of things we have done on building is, I think, underappreciated even by us ourselves. So I've asked Greg to kind of stop being modest as he is and kind of start looking at it from the external perspective and putting some numbers behind all the development we've done. By September, October, we have started to pivot, to change, okay? And that change is accelerating now. As I said, the main resources of Unique Network in the last year were dedicated to building the blockchain and everything that's needed to use it. I believe that we have accomplished 80-90% of stuff we need to do. And going forward with a few kind of things left to do, we will mostly be focusing on optimizing those things. But most importantly, we will be focusing on now building the ecosystem and making what we built useful for anybody who needs those kinds of things, and that means growing the ecosystem. So we have built a big ship, and that ship is kind of rotating now, is rotating to show it to the world and to the builders and to the community wider. So Greg, can you please walk us through the stuff that we have done on the development front, and then I will take over after that to cover all the other stuff we've done.
Sure. Thanks, Alex. Yes, like Alex said, we started taking some numbers on what we've done, and I'll be happy to share those numbers. And the biggest one, our team has collectively made 7,200 GitHub commits in this last year. So just to give an idea of what this means, this substrate repository has 7,300 commits. This is a total, and this is how much parity, how much work has parity has done in all years they have been working on substrate. We put the comparable amount of work if we compare in commits in just 1 year. So every commit adds little value to, or maybe a big value to our mutual work. And what this really means, what it includes, one of the biggest achievements is core team. Our core team made 28 core releases in the year. Quarter to half of it, of all work they do, is related to Polkadot updates, because we have to keep up doing this complex work, keep up with parity, updating the software, and because we depend on them largely. This translates to probably about, it's really difficult to calculate, but it probably translates to something in the range of about 2 human years, 2 work years. And of course, core team did many more updates that I'll be talking later about. But just to give some overview, it's 28 releases to all of our networks. Multiple marketplace upgrades came also last year. This includes auctions. If before we could only sell NFTs or trade NFTs for fixed price, now we can do it in auctions. The beginning price can be set, and then it raises over time. We also added ramp network and checkout integrations. Now, if on some marketplaces that work with Quartz, you can purchase NFTs for essentially you can purchase NFTs for using the credit card. This is also a big step on making us user friendly and community friendly, because we are trying to make the products that run on the network as friendly as possible and capable of handling people's needs, and when we deal with not just blockchain enthusiasts, but with normal human beings. We released, that's one of the biggest achievements of core team. We released nested NFT support. Nested NFTs is when you can fold one NFT into another. Actually, one NFT can own another NFT, and not just only NFT, but it can own some amount of fungible token or maybe refungible token, and it makes bundling use case very possible. We can show the nested NFTs in Scanner, the block explorer, and in the wallet. This is also important update. And also, we've done some research on the sustainability. So we started looking and thinking how much carbon dioxide we produce, how much we impact environment. This is important not only for us, but for many projects that work with the NFT world. We are very environment friendly, and just probably about 9 months ago, I was given a comparison in NFT Lisbon conference. I was saying that one NFT mint produces about 98 kilograms of carbon dioxide on Ethereum network. Ethereum was proof of work back then, while it only produces fraction of 1/1000th of a gram, fraction of a milligram of carbon dioxide, which is comparable to how much a human exhales in one breath. That's the scale of the difference we're talking about. We started doing some benchmarking research to see how we compare to other blockchains. There aren't many results yet, but I can share that we can mint up to 5,000 NFTs per minute. This is a very impressive number if we compare to other networks. We have also successfully minted 100,000 NFTs just recently, and nested 200,000 RFT pieces in these 100,000 NFTs. And it didn't take much. It didn't take much time, which shows what kind of scalability we're dealing with. I'll go over the timeline we've been working on, and we just started. If we look at where we've been a year ago, in January, we started by pretty small. We were started by launching Unique Block Explorer. The Block Explorer is the tool. If you look at the analogies in the blockchain world, this is pretty much like Etherscan but it's designed for NFTs and specifically for Quartz and unique NFTs. You can see what's happening with NFTs. So you can see how the collection is created, what collections we have in this space and in our networks, and you see transactions of NFTs, NFT details, maybe some properties, pictures. So this is. But back in January, we only launched the first version of it. It was a very, very simple scanner that we launched. If you look at the some statistics now, and this you can open it and see how many collections we have. So you'll see that we have probably about 560 live collections on Quartz with over 200,000 NFTs minted. Over 300,000 transfers and 71,000 in Quartz holders, NFT holders. I'm sorry. That was back in January. And the other important tool, one of the two essential tools to get a non-developer part of NFT community started, is a minting solution where you can create NFTs by uploading an image, maybe setting some properties and everything, but it doesn't require any development knowledge. You can create NFT by hand. Also, back in January, we reserved the Parachain ID in preparation for Unique Parachain launch. Going forward in February, we launched Opal Testnet, and made the first XCM transfer in this test environment. Just to explain what XCM is this is the protocol that Parity develops, and it allows value transfer between different parachains if they're connected to the same relay chain. So this is important tool because it basically opens the doors for interoperability, and so we try to keep up with Parity research and did the XCM transfer in February. In March, we got ready for Unique launch by setting its runtime code in Polkadot and starting the crowd loan. And also we had a couple of core releases in March that updated us to Polkadot versions the 0917 and 0918. Also, a big technical milestone in March was achieved by separating the runtime code for all of our networks, Opal, Quartz, and Unique. This step allowed us to independently deploy and test these networks and significantly save on developers and DevOps time. It was a really, really important step to clean up code that way. In April, the greatest achievement was winning the 14th Polkadot Parachain slot auction with the help of community. This was really good achievement, and thank you to the community for supporting us. Very important technical milestone also achieved in April was opening HRMP channel between Quartz and Karura to allow transfers of Quartz through the XCM protocol. And like I said, XCM protocol opens the interoperability options. This time it allowed trading Quartz on Karura Swap. So now Quartz is available for sale on Karura Swap. And of course, you can transfer Quartz back to Quartz. I mean QTZ back to Quartz. We're also working on a few more integrations through XCM. We will be opening channels and handling transfers between Akala and Unique soon to allow Unique trading on Akala Swap. We will also be able to transfer USDT token to Quartz. So we are keeping up with interoperability as much as XCM protocol allows us to for now. And we also launched in April the Quartz network support in our wallet and implemented some of EVM smart contract sponsoring improvements. In May, we opened, we started the development of the first NFT game based on Quartz, and we are just starting to see results of it. This is development that takes time, but we're seeing something interesting happening. Maybe we will be announcing it soon. We integrated fiat on-ramp gateway that I was talking recently about. This allows purchasing Kusama directly with a credit card and use it on the marketplace. We also released the prediction API for transaction sponsoring that will make transaction sponsoring work better. It will allow us to see if transaction can be paid by the collection sponsor, or maybe the user should be taking care of the fees. And it will make our UI, wallet UI, much friendlier. Also in May, we released the first version of RFT, so we can make RFT tokens now since May using the API that currently exists. In June, the biggest update of June was that we onboarded Unique Parachain. It started producing blocks. So because we won the auction slot, it onboarded us in June. And we also did very massive updates, releases of the features. We released nesting that I was talking about, and collection properties. Collection properties is another fun feature we have. They allow us to granularly control what collection and NFT tokens store, and how different users with different roles can we also ran North America Polkadot Hackathon. Daniel Porsche was talking about NFT nesting there. And we had a couple of updates. We updated Polkadot to Polkadot version 9.0.23 and 9.0.24. In July, we did finally launch the network, the Unique network. We did a runtime upgrade, which allowed us to go full to release all features we've been working on Unique. So everything went live. Unique went live. We were able to mint first collections, do nest, some RFT, and some contracts. So all that went live and working in July. We also finished our work on Remark proxy pallet. It was a lot of work. It's probably a man worth a year working here worth of work. We released in July. We were helping Remark team. Demo day was also scheduled in July, and we showed how we can do things with this Remark proxy pallet. We also had token generation event and distributed tokens in July. Many of you may have seen this happening in their wallets. And also we announced the app promotion staking and sponsored transaction model. This is our way to make sponsoring, our way to make staking a little more fun. Staking doesn't have to be all about making profits, even though making profits is part of our staking. But it will allow the supporters or stakers to select applications that are promoted, and applications maybe the select applications will benefit from fee sponsoring, and that way we hope to select and make many nice applications that work on unique networks. I mean, on Quartz and Unique. And we'll see where it goes, but very soon we will be putting the staking on Quartz and then on Unique after that. So right now staking, and I will talk about this later, but right now staking is available on Opal network. Anyone is welcome to test it. In August, we launched our product roadmap, and I think Alex will be talking about it a bit later. In September, we went further, working on our AI tools, and we merged Minter and Scanner into the wallet. So the wallet started supporting. Started using the Scanner API, and it allows now minting and create collections. You can create collections if you use wallet tool. We announced winners nested NFT Hackathon, and also Quartz won the Kusama Parachain slot, another one, because it's been almost a year since we launched Quartz. Now Quartz has another year to run. October, we did one more announcement. This is very important. We announced SDK. SDK is the tool that allows Web2 developers integrate with our chain without any Web3 knowledge. We, as of now, support a bunch of platforms. We allow applications written in JavaScript or TypeScript to use this SDK. Also, Android SDKs, Android phones, Android developers can use it. iOS developers can also use it, and C#. We just are getting close to releasing the Unity tools as well. This is let me emphasize that the SDK is very important tool, and it will allow it guarantees that nothing changes behind this SDK, that applications can use it and they don't need any updates unless they need to make any feature updates of their own. But SDK is stable and it provides API that can be relied on, and the Web2 developers are welcome to come and use it. We also have a bunch of workshops and documentation. Now that we actually released in November, So November, we started with a release and documentation on docs.unique.network. And anyone can visit it and use it to read the SDK documentation. Also in November, we had several dynamic NFTs created. Dynamic NFT is the NFT that changes with time. It is still an NFT because it's owned by a single address, but it can be transferred. It behaves like normal NFT, but the picture and properties may be changed. We had very, very important core updates in November as well. We enabled a promotion staking on Opal for testing. The staking I was talking about, the fund staking. We also created white label fractionalized smart contract. It can be used to convert NFTs to RFTs. So basically, if you have an NFT on Quartz or Unique network, you can log it in that smart contract and it will create you an RFT. It will be trustless way to convert NFTs to RFTs. We're also working on XCM token transfers, USDT between Quartz and Statement, Unique between UNQ between Akala and Unique and Moonbeam and Unique. And also we're allowing transfers of QTZ to StateMine and Moonriver. So a lot of XCM migration going on. And we also added maintenance mode, multi-block migrations for critical migration stability. From now on, we can run large updates and perform complex work upgrades without risk of being bricked. So many parachains have gone through this problem. We haven't seen anyone creating this solution. And finally, in December, we created an NFT collection of tests for RFT campaign, and like I already said, and we distributed. We have distributed 200,000 RFTs into this chest, and we're getting ready to prepare for the claim. I think this is all with the updates. It was very, very long. Alex, I will over to you. Give it over to you.
Well, that's what I was saying. Our year was long, filled with a lot of stuff. And if you listen into all of that, understanding how much effort did into all of that, if you combine it, it's probably about 50 man years worth of development. So those 7,300 commits, that's more than 50 man years worth of development. Actually, a smaller part of that, I think, 20% or even less, is in the blockchain itself. And a bigger part in terms of numbers is the tooling part. Okay, people overall, I'd like to reflect for a minute or two impressions building on Substrate as a result of all of that. Polka is kind of built Substrate as something that's where it's easy to build blockchains on it. And certainly it's much easier than it was. But I have to tell you, it's not as easy as advertised. Okay, it's still early days, and the maturity of the code base will require another couple of years before it settles really. So it will become easy from here. It has become easier in the last 2 years. But you need to have, in order to have a chain or parachain, you need to have at least 2 people full time just for maintaining the chain. Okay, how many you need to build upon is kind of depending on the use cases and stuff. But this is something that is very important to measure. The parity, for example, has a priority to onboard as many parachains as they can, so that they fulfill the promise of having 70 to 100 of them and so on. But actually, I think that that approach is wrong. They should be doing that over the years, and pushing everybody to do a parachain initially is a wrong idea, because it's not as easy as advertised. And then each of us building some unique functionality, no pun intended on the name, there is a lot of need for tooling that makes actually people working on block to create end user solutions viable. A lot of Polkadot parachains and Kusama parachains are actually end user solutions. Okay, they are vertically integrated, and for me, that doesn't make sense in a lot of use cases. There are some that are justified. There are some that are half justified, but there are a lot of them that are not justified. Making a game and having it, having it have its own blockchain is a waste of resources. And there's a lot of projects in the Polkadot ecosystem that try to do it all. They try to do infrastructure, that try to do tooling, that try to do end user applications, that try to do end user applications on end user applications, etc. And having all that expertise in-house, or having it in the ecosystem that is successfully built economically, is a very bad idea. It's not viable. And a lot of projects will fail because they're trying to be everything. This bear market we have has put a lot of, not a stop to that, but has given people a lot of thought about specializing. And I think that we're going to see much more of that. We're going to see a lot more projects deciding to be DApps instead of building all the infrastructure from scratch. And I think that's very important, because only with that you can have actual usage of blockchains, and only with that you can have actual adoption numbers. Polkadot is fantastic in terms of the number of developers it has attracted. It is second only to Ethereum ecosystem, and it's getting on quickly. Had been so a year ago. We're all waiting for this year's edition of Elect Capital has this report they publish on a number of developers, but we see that trend is continuing. But Polkadot has very few user applications. Okay, so it's still for geeks. I think that is going to change rapidly, and that's what the focus for us will be in the next year. Now, let me add to what Greg has covered on our 2022 achievements, activities, stuff we've done in our other segments of what we were working on. So on the community engagement front, we have had a public sale with over 7,900 community members participating. There was more than 5,000 supporters who participated in Unique Crowd Loan in April. And that was kind of, for me personally, it was highlight moment, because people haven't done it before, and knowing what what the results will be, the nerve-wracking experience for us. Going for our chain slot and winning on the very first the kind of slot we went after was relieving. Because I don't like to promise things we cannot deliver, and this was a test that we passed with flying colors in terms of delivering on it. It will be much easier going forward. We have a big chest of bots and KSM for future loans. So and we have delivered on the blockchain itself. So the main promises we made to the community are delivered. Everybody, a lot of blockchain projects, basically, when they the blockchain, when they release it, they are kind of they take a big step back. We are not doing that. We're on the contrary. The real work only begins in terms of building the ecosystem, and we are like many parachains in the Polkadot ecosystem. We're not a B2C parachain. We are infrastructure blockchain for NFT cases, advanced NFT use cases, next generation of NFT use cases, and building that ecosystem becomes now our primary job. So, that's the main mission, main message that we have as the kind of entity. Continue on stuff with last year. So we launched the Punks4thePeople campaign to popularize unique ecosystem within the community with a gift of the Punk Fran, and to demonstrate all the capabilities of our chain. And we had over 59,000 registrations for it. We are to start distributing those, I guess in a few weeks is a good timeline as far as I see it now. This year we have participated in over 60 events across the globe. I think the 40 were those where we have had keynote speeches or things like that, where we have spread the word about Unique. Now, some of the community members have been asking questions, and you're going to stop attending these events and kind of start working. I appreciate that question as from the point of view of the community. But those events, they allow us to meet important people and talk to them and actually get things done. It is a place where we get to meet people we need to accomplish what we need to do. Okay, and that actually becomes even more important as we're into ecosystem building. So, unfortunately for me, I don't like most of these events. It's a tough kind to keep the schedule. I don't know, Irina, our business that had kind of manages it. She does 2-3 a month. I try to do one per month or 2 months, somewhere in there, and even that is a lot too much in a lot of situations. But they are important to put faces behind things we're doing and bonding with partners we need. We are an ecosystem, and we need to keep growing that ecosystem. We have had a lot of media coverage. We'll be releasing a new version of the website. A lot of that stuff. There is already a lot of the stuff in there. I'll come back to the thing that Greg raised, documentation and materials. We have had a big push on that towards the end of the year, and we'll continue to do so to actually explain to people in as simple language as possible, for depending on who the audience is, how Unique is fantastic for building solutions. What I can proudly say is we have the blockchain, which makes 90% of the stuff that people are doing with hard pain and a lot of effort and are kind of considering things. We make them very simple. We make them very easy, and then we give them a lot of tools to innovate on top of that. So we're pushing the envelope and are asking for more. I believe the NFT market right now is in search of its next mission. We have had a big bull market in the last, previous year, 2 years in the NFT space. The world has discovered NFTs as a technology for doing new things, and it has used them to make collectibles. And for collectibles is just the simplest and the smallest of potential use cases for NFT as a technology. So in this bear market, the thousands of builders across the world will be looking for the next things to do with NFTs. We're talking with many of them, and that is, and we hope to host a number of very innovative use cases that will actually drive the next big wave. If you take a look back, when DeFi started to really evolve, build out, kind of be adopted, it had a big wave. Then when the bear market came in, a lot of actual stuff happening. DeFi continued to develop, continued to work. So we're not in the space where crypto was 5 years ago or more, when the bear market comes in, when the hype calms down, things stop. On the contrary, actually, a lot more is happening. A lot more high quality stuff is happening, and I believe NFTs will be like that as well. After DeFi is the second discovered use case, and what we are seeing from enterprise across the world, from games, from different sections of art world, there's a genuine interest in actually using NFTs for a lot of things, and that's what will happen. So what we forecast is that during a bear market, and it will last, in our view, another year, maybe year and a half, the next use cases for NFTs will be discovered, and they will drive a tremendous growth in the next cycle. So we're working very hard on that. Coming back to my review, I keep being distracted from it. Just some statistics that Greg mentioned. We have on our chain, we have 570 collections, as 8,000 NFTs on Unique, and there's 212,000 on Quartz. So we're starting to see some usage, and that is the direction we'll take. Community-wise, we also have grown from about 51,000 subscribers to our social networks. We have grown to 77,000 now, even with the kind of bear market and so. Most importantly, what we were working on this year was partnerships. Okay. So we have built the blockchain and the tooling. We are stopping in that. We are not building B2C things ourselves. We do it. We are onboarding partners and helping them build them. And we help them in different ways. But the key is that we do not want to own a B2C segment. We want to have an ecosystem of great partners who are good at different cases, different communities, different solutions that actually take advantage of the great infrastructure we built to create very valuable solutions. So just want to stop on a few of those that kind of marked this year. So for me, the best example of our strategy executed successfully is Lemonade Social. They have, according to ecosystem growth team from Parity, they gave up on Lemonade Social that they can deliver what they want in Polkadot ecosystem. They came to us for 3 months. We redid a lot of things on the VM side of things and on our capabilities. We put in a number of months into that, and they stuck with us. They stayed with us. As a result, as they launched in July, they started building, they started making projects, and I would say they really started doing that from September, and they have since had 7 projects delivered on Unique. And these are some are small, but actually most of them are very, very interesting. They covered a UNESCO exhibition in Paris, okay, with POAP. They covered for COP28, they did a POP. They are doing a number of actually very high-profile projects, and they're only starting to. There's a lot more interesting stuff going on there. So my idea is we began this year as a go-to-market strategy to onboard a number of partners like this that will have, on average, 1 project a month. That average project delivers 10,000 users a month. Some of them are sticky, some are not. Some are one-off things. But when you start when they start building, the success kind of grows exponentially, and we should grow the result exponentially. So as a result of all of that, we have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of NFTs minted, and some of those events will start kind of gaining complexity and become actually basis for fan management programs, for loyalty programs, and so on. So the actual value for us chain of those projects will increase exponentially as well. So if we manage to onboard 12 partners like that a year, we are all set. We'll have so much usage that will become the most popular NFT chain out there. Some other partners we onboarded that I'm very proud of. My favorite one, actually, since 2018, Snarkart. Just had a reminder on my Facebook page. I attended the event. They were in museum. They were presenting their 44-second atomized art project 4 years ago in a museum of contemporary art. That's how OG they are, okay? People still did not understand CryptoKitties at the time. They made this dynamic NFT protocol and are one of the best NFT studios I know. They've integrated the platform, and we are now starting to work on first projects with them that will kind of open the door and show to people how dynamic NFTs work. So for me, that's cutting edge of NFT use case, especially in the art section. But this can be used for gaming as well. Museum Week, we forged a very important for us partnership that will leverage Lemonade, will leverage some other aspects we have, and most importantly, will put us on a map with a lot of museums in Europe. That's the Museum Week, an organization of art museums in Europe. With Unit Masters, we kind of forged the partnership. They've already minted their first educational certificates there. Digital for Climate is a name you heard before. Before this year, we have taken it to the next level at COP27 with their with the additions of the collection that was presented on last year's COP, and we're starting to work on COP28 in Dubai already, with actually a number of other potential partners there. That direction of sustainability and climate action is very important for us. It gives us a very important competitive advantage. Can't say much on that yet, but a lot of enterprises, artists, and a lot of projects, they really care about sustainability, and they choose us because of that, because we are the most sustainable, because we work a lot in that ecosystem. That direction is actually important. We are lining up more partnerships there, with some with other Polkadot parachains or Kusama parachains, and from the Climate Chain Coalition, and to kind of combine to build sustainable blockchain solutions. Our mission is sustainable metaverse, but you're going to hear a lot more about that in the future. Couple of more partners we forged and kind of developed this year. Sovereign Nature, great team that does a lot of great stuff. Together with them, we're working with the WWF. They have already done a few nice things and are planning to do a lot more, I hope. I think it's a great combination. And continuing to expect a lot of great things from them. We help them with some stuff they're doing, and still continue to do so. We had a few hackathons together. Artpool is kind of having a hard time because their business model was on the sales of NFT. That is kind of in a bear market, so we are helping them pivot into more consulting, education roles, and potentially a few other things. We have all I can say, we have 6 more partners like this. They're in development stage. They're past the kind of agreement stage. We will be announcing any of them as kind of they really deliver and when the time is right for announcement. We decided in the next year to focus a lot more attention to enterprises. I'll cover that in a minute. We are starting to think seriously about the gaming, and we have a few games in the works by partners, of course. So when kind of they come on board, when we finish what we wanted to do with SDK for gaming, and it's very shortly kind of going to be available, we will start kind of working in the gaming direction very seriously, because gaming industry is tough. It's big, but it's tough. It demands a lot, and we have grown up. We had to grow up to be ready for it. Okay, simple games are simple. We're going to use that first to kind of make sure we're doing everything right, and then only kind of focus on big guys. But that's the gaming industry asks for very grown-up technology partners, and we're making sure that we do mature enough to meet their needs. That's something that you can waste a lot of time on if you don't do that. Okay. To finish the list off, we had 230 leads project we spoke to in 2022, and quarter of them are still active. Some of them are working on developing stuff that will release on Unique. Some of them are kind of talking to us, still thinking. Most of them are still thinking how to do stuff, how to find money to do stuff. That's the most important question for many of them. But there's still a very healthy pipeline. Okay, this covers the most important items. I could go on for long. It's already 4 o'clock time. We're already kind of finishing up, and I hope there's everybody's still listening. just want to wrap this part of the discussion with the kind of strategic view we have. Again, we have spent a lot of time, almost all of our time this year on delivering on the main promises we made. That was to deliver the most innovative NFT blockchain out there and to make that blockchain usable. I believe that with Unique and Quartz in the stage they are today, that they are promise delivered. We covered 90-something% of the stuff we have in tech paper, and the reminder of things that in there that's promised is kind of actually developed. It just needs to be deployed. And because we have actually increased the scope of working on. Remember, one man day in blockchain itself is between 10 and 100 man days of work for anything, everything beyond it. So that part took a lot of resources. But we became I would say, in terms of NFTs, the only infrastructure in the Polkadot ecosystem that's capable of building up the B2C projects on. Everybody else is either building, okay, I don't know what the Affinity is doing, but they're certainly build on it, or is building things themselves. A good example of that is BitCountry, for example. They are a great project, but they work not for developers, they work for creators, so directly. So they do tooling, they do everything, and then they onboard creators who want to use their system. Our strategy is different, and we have started working with the Parachain ecosystem business development team that just got formed this summer or fall. Is still kind of onboarding people, but we are starting to see a little bit of attraction already. And I can say this proudly and kind of firmly that we are the most ready, the most mature, and the kind of, in many things, the only available option for NFT infrastructure usage in the Polkadot ecosystem. Especially if you want to do things that are next generation use cases. If you want to do just collections, there's a lot of options out there. That's fine with us. But if you want to do anything more advanced, we have everything that projects need to do it. Not only the technology, blockchain, but the tooling, and actually a number of people who help with doing that. Because it's not just about building the infrastructure. You have to make that infrastructure talk to the developer. And for that, you need tooling, you need documentation, education materials, and actual people who translate all of that stuff to people so they don't have to spend months figuring it out how to build things. We are shortening all that out to an hour. Okay, that's the goal we have, and that goal is accomplished. We have reduced the headcount of Unique to about 5 people about now, and can say that out of those 45 people, 35 or so will now be working on things related to ecosystem building. Okay, and that makes us keep positioned that any good project that comes on board, we can very quickly have them build what they need quickly and market quickly and with very little effort on their end. That is a competitive advantage we have, and that is what we started working on, and we will work on in the next year. With that, I want to touch base. We are over the hour, so Charo, is it okay to just answer the questions we had the community before?
Oh, yes, sure, we can definitely do that.
Okay. I have those questions in the spreadsheet here. Okay, so what's the plan on a first question? What's the plan on attracting developers to launch projects on the network? As I said, that all or 89% of what 45 people will be working on. Okay, the plan was to build something that people can actually easily launch on. And that part is accomplished. Now all we have to do is convince people to do that. The big parts of our development teams are now actually switching their focus fully on ecosystem tasks. Okay, product stuff we had, it was 90% of stuff we did. This next year, it will be 10%. So whenever somebody comes to us, we'll assign them account manager, technical manager that will push them in the right directions. We have a builders deck. I think that is a very important achievement because first of all, it's stability, gives people clear picture, and because it gives people very clear kind of decision-making process on how to move forward. It becomes very quick and easy. Our main focus, we have two types of ecosystem projects. One is partnerships, or we can call them enterprises, we can call them strategic or whatever. But they are those projects that actually, once integrated with us, or partner with us, they can have many more projects on board. Okay, these are strategic. To these, assign executive sponsor. We assign kind of senior people from the team to help them with different things, and we give them more resources. The group, in terms of numbers, is all the different startups. They are vast majority, but they are handled in. We have built everything they need to integrate or to build themselves. We have, as I said, all the tooling, the SDK being the most important one. And they can start building the way they're accustomed to. They don't need to learn anything much that's not covered in half an hour session. And off they go. There's support channels. There are people who are in charge of making sure that each of them is given what they need and that exceptions are handled. So that's the strategy with them. Okay. And then, see what there are number of channels of for lead generation that we have developed or are developing. Our work with parity is very important. Is another kind of stream of projects coming from the climate change sustainability side of things, and there will be focus on gaming. They will be focused on a number of different things. So that plan is big. Okay. Please ask me the same question. How, please let us know in a year how did we. Okay. That's that's that I can do for now. Okay. Second question: what roles do the Cello bricks Unique, and will they be used in Skybridge or in games, etc.? Any plans for the Cello bricks or Substrate Punks in the near future? These two collections of ours is something that we have for the last 6 months. We have collected them a little bit, okay, because we have focused on delivering things I spoke about. I have recently looked into what it would take to make Cello bricks 3D rendered and as such usable in dynamic games. Unfortunately, it's very expensive. So we will think of a way to kind of handle that. But was the direction I would be hoping to go with, to make them kind of 3D rendered available so they can be used in games, and then kind of attract games to be built on that. Substrapunks are a symbolic project. They are, the first NFT project in the Polkadot ecosystem. And I believe that as such, they will keep the role as such. We've seen the NFT kind of projects in the Polkadot ecosystem be bootstrapped by just airdropping stuff to Substrapunk owners. And I believe that, that probably might be the way they continue. We'll see. But we do need to take a hard look at how we develop those two collections. It will be tied to, it probably might be tied to the of our marketplace. We haven't spoken about that today, and a lot of people are probably wondering. We have pushed the pause button on the market for about 6 months as we were in extensive talks with a number of projects and our investors about taking over that marketplace or building something new and so on, because we don't want to do anything B2C ourselves. We don't want to compete with projects that are coming on board. We want to support them. So that's the idea. Those discussions have been prolonged and prolonged. Okay. And what I want to do is take the inventory of what kind of we can do over the holidays, and then start working on the strategy going forward and rejuvenating the marketplace and that activity on Quartz and Unique. So the strategy for all of that will be coming in the first quarter of next year. Next question is, what is going to be your focus in 2023? What is going to be messaging of Unique Network? Our focus will be ecosystem building. The messaging will be that we are a chain that brings three things. One is sustainability, be it sustainable metaverse, sustainable gaming, whatever. Are the most energy efficient blockchain on the planet. And that is very important to a growing number of people and entities, and we will push that direction. The second kind of value we bring is technical capability, which we are the most advanced NFT chain on the planet. And we intend to work closely with partners that understand the value of those technical capability and move it forward. And the third point is we are a chain that's striving towards mass adoption. We want to have 1 billion NFT users on the planet, just like Parallel Finance has this kind of tagline they use. They want to have DeFi for 1 billion people. We want to have NFTs for 1 billion people. And that mass adoption is started with the building side. And for that, we have SDK. Nobody else has that in the Polkadot ecosystem. And I can go into a lot of details why that's important, but that's a whole different call. Okay. We have sponsoring and are using fiat on-ramps as and fiat paying gateways as a way to use sponsoring of transaction fees, and combining those things plus the XCM, bridges to different blockchains and so on. What we plan to build is something for very wide adoption, both on builder side, user side. Those are kind of three main messages. Next question is long, but I appreciate it a lot. I'll read it in its entirety. Unique seems to have taken a very wrong turn somewhere. Nothing is left out of the initial community apart from negativity, spreading even to other groups. You can already see a clear result of even Remark cutting ties with Unique because it now has a bad reputation, but the effects of this are also much more indirect. every day seems dimmer, not only for investors, but also for initial believers and NFT holders who are now trying to separate themselves from Unique as much as possible and will eventually do so. Those are facts, and everyone sees that. No amount of excuses about the state of the market. Just look at other parachains that clearly don't have these problems, or cringe bot in the Telegram group will change the reality. What is important? Do you believe the possibility of building a new community and survive the bear market is real? NFTs are the future. Do you have a plan to have at least a little part in it when bull market is back? Will you have the financial resources to do so? Seeing the sinking ship is very painful considering the technical talent and possibilities of the project. Signed by a disappointed stakeholder. Okay, I feel a lot of pain in these questions, and I can say I relate to them a lot. Okay, we experience the same thing ourselves as well. We have to not focus on that, focus on actually working towards the better achievements. So we might seem ignorant of those problems, we understand them, we see them, and we're working towards fixing anything that goes wrong. Let me start by answering the questions, okay? Do we believe the possibility of building a new community and surviving the bear market? Yes, of course. Not only surviving, but trying. So first, there was a financial question. Yes, we have the financial resources to do so. Our runway, as we stand now, is about a year and a half, maybe two, between those two. And that's not counting any crypto that we have, and we have a lot. Everything that we receive crypto from the community is intact. We haven't touched it at all. It's in the dots that are used for the Parachain slot. Still 70,000 dots we put in and that we put in staking. We have a lot of KSM, and those funds will be kept in those and that crypto for a couple of years until we see how much we need for the next Parachain slot. And then as I suspect, the price of that will go down substantially. It has already gone down. We'll probably free up funds for another or two or so for the year. So financially, we're okay. The second question, the second part is community and the kind of building of the ecosystem. We have built the initial community on our initial tech and deliverables with that. We were the first to make an NFT collection, the Polkadot ecosystem, such things. And those things have helped create the core and initial community. We have steered towards becoming solely to be an infrastructure, and that is very boring to the most of the community that I know, that I understand. And it will be boring until the B2C projects that build on us start actually delivering things and kind of putting more things. One thing that we didn't do enough of indeed was the focus on developing further the collection we built in the marketplace. But that is because, as I said, we wanted to focus all of our attention to make sure we have a lot of projects like that, and these remain just the first and the kind of those we did in the beginning. And that started to happen and will happen in the years to come. I believe that when we report the list of strategic projects and the projects on Unique a year from now, internal goal is 12 new partners in a year, and then each of those partners should deliver well, on average, they should kind of have 12 projects a year after that. So far, this year we have basically done that. It's hard to measure in the first year, but we do have a lot of interesting partners, and you're going to start seeing all of their projects next year. So all of that will help drive the usage, the adoption, and innovation in the NFT space. As I said before, we are the only project in the Polkadot ecosystem that is capable of handling serious enterprise-level projects. Okay, and that's where we're going to try to focus on business development side of things. Okay, we will have a lot of inbound kind of candidate projects, and we have all the resources available to them. So those things in this big market, very few people have the abilities to deliver on what others need. We have them. So that's why I'm very, very optimistic that when the next bull market comes in, this will be the place that will be thriving, because we will have real projects, real usage, and some of the most advanced, most interesting things you can think of in terms of the space. We don't have enough financial resources to do what others are doing, so we can compete with Paragon because they have and hundreds of millions of dollars they give out to projects, or some other blockchains have a similar kind of approach, but we have everything else. And in terms of, again, advanced NFT stuff, we're the first one. So I wouldn't be so much worried. Okay. Best thing to do, switch off for 6 months, come back in 6 months, and kind of check on things. That's what I can say, because we are working very hard on kind of making some very serious traction. Just not just talking about hyping things about having a good collection. Hey, great. That's the thing for yesterday. We're doing something that's much, much deeper. I hope I have answered, at least some part of what this community member had. Okay, a few more questions. Why the NFTs that users mint can't be tradable on your marketplace? It would be great, and the community could thrive and grow. I absolutely agree. As I said, we were waiting for projects to kind of to finalize the deals with projects that would kind of be secondary marketplace and so on. Those discussions have taken too long. So after the New Year's, we'll be deciding on what to do and how to build out this part, and expect that come February, expect that to be live. In which way, I cannot say. We need to do a lot of thinking on it. It's not that easy. We do it tomorrow if we want to, but there are a lot of implications from that distance, and we need to be very careful about those. Here's my favorite question. How many user conferences do you think you will attend in 2023? I have answered that. The less, the better, if you ask me personally, because I'm tired of them. But they are very useful. They're not useful. A lot of them are useful. Okay, how can we help to grow this project as ambassadors? We do have ambassadors calls and so on. Those questions are answered, and because it's not a simple answer to that question. It's it's always personal. I can answer it generically. There's a lot of things you can help with. There's a lot of things you can be part of, and more specifically, you need to talk with senior ambassadors and head ambassadors about that. A lot of people are pissed about price. What was the real reason behind the sharp dump, and what's unique to give its community some? Not finished here, but I think I understand the question. We don't know what the real reason is. You have to ask those who have sold, okay? Because we haven't sold a single token, neither we will. But I can give you my assumptions. Assumptions are, by the time we did the listing, was very few people buying anything, okay? And that is the main reason, okay? This will change. It will change, you know, it will change in a few months or in a year or two, I have no idea. But we're working heavily on designing or building the adoption and usage of the blockchain. Now, when right now between 90-something% of crypto investors are gone. They're not buying anything. So focusing now on that would be kind of big waste of resources. I think that when they come back a year now or so, seeing the chain that has so much that has a lot more traction than anybody else, will kind of is what we define as value. Okay, so that's our main focus continues to be adoption and usage and utility of the tokens. That's what we are working on to make Unique valuable. Okay, and the final question I have here is there any news regarding partnership with Lemonade? I've spoken about them. Okay, I hope you heard about it. There's a lot happening with them. I love them. They're a great project and help each other a lot. And I hope they really thrive in the next year. So this kind of concludes the questions that we had. This call has gotten from an hour to an hour and a half, and I could go on for a lot more, but you know, let's focus on let's focus on kind of answering the questions in the Telegram channel follow up. And thank you all for listening. I'll be hanging around the Telegram channel to answer any more questions you have. Let's hope that next year is as eventful as this year. As life goes on, those things will be different than events of this year. And so hopefully they will be good for the community as well, and primarily for the community. So thank you all again for listening in. Happy holidays, and well, I'll stay around the Telegram channel to answer any more questions.
All right, thank you everyone. We'll conclude the call here today, and thanks for making time. It was indeed a long call, but thank you for all the questions you raised as well.
All right, see you all around. Thank you very much. Bye.
Happy holidays and a happy new year.
See you around.